This is the stereo Realist with the front plate detached. This ring that goes around the lens sets the shutter speeds, and it can be rotated fairly easily. This is the timing nut that when it falls down onto one of these teeth sets the shutter speed. I just set this at 1 second by putting that knob into this groove. By putting it on another groove, I'll set it for a different series of gears to be driven and change the shutter speed all the way up to the top speed and time. I like to try to work with the camera on 1 second. If your camera works at 1 second, the shutter pretty much works at all speeds accurately or close enough so that you'll be able to utilize the camera. And that's how the shutter works. As you can tell, a lot of things are happening. It almost looks like a Rube Goldberg invention, but it's amazing how simple it truly is. Watch your own shutter to see how all the springs and gears drive each other. This is where you're going to find the majority of your dirt in the camera. If your shutter isn't working accurately, a good place to start is with canned air, blowing out all the dirt and gunk that's accumulated in this camera for the last possibly 50 years. Don't be afraid to hit it with a lot of air. Underneath this stainless steel plate is the slow speed timing gears. They can be seen when looking down from the top. These are the gears that control the slow speed timing of your camera. You also want to clean these with some compressed air by putting the nozzle right in there and blowing all that junk right out. A lot of the time, just cleaning the shutter in the way I just showed you with some canned air is enough to get your shutter back up to sync. If a camera has been stored under damp conditions, you'll sometimes see some rust on these shutter blades. If you want to clean it gently, and I can't emphasize that enough, gently rub the shutter blade with a pencil eraser to get the dust off, then cleaning off all the debris with some canned air. Make sure that your eraser is clean. To further clean your shutter requires the use of a solvent, which we discussed already in the tape. I'm putting down some paper towels just to soak up any of the solvent that flows out. I like to start at the top of the camera. 111 trichloroethane is the solvent I'm using. I'm going to spray solvent initially right inside the top of this slow speed gear train. Using as much or as little as I have to. I try to use as little of this as I possibly can, letting it run down and drain on the paper towel. Again, I'd be doing this outside under any other circumstances. The nice thing about this solvent is that it dries almost immediately, along with taking away all of the dirt that's accumulated on your shutter for all of these years. You can also clean down the front part of your camera at this point. I try to avoid getting any solvent on this plastic viewfinder lens. I've never hurt one yet, but I can't guarantee that the solvent that you're using won't be aggressive towards it. To clean this whole part of the camera, I'm just going to spray it down and let it drain on the paper towel. And as you can tell, this is a fairly clean camera, and I'm getting dirt out of it that's falling across on this paper towel. Allow the camera some time to dry from the solvent. You can help the drying out process by using some canned air at this point. When the camera is dry from the solvent bath cleaning, you can test the shutter. If there's still some moisture left in these shutter blades where they overlap, you may have some problems with one of the blades hanging up, or, as this camera just did, one of the blades not fully opening. This is caused by having too much solvent left on the shutter blades of the camera. Let it dry out for another while. This bottom rod is your flash synchronizing bar. What happens when the shutter clicks is this bar is shifted over here. There's a contact made here that runs up a wire to the top to your flash shoe, and that's how the flash works.